Imagine waking up tomorrow morning. Everything seems normal. The sun rises. The birds are singing. People rush to work. Cars fill the streets. Nothing feels different. But then, scientists around the world receive the same impossible reading. Earth has suddenly become half its original size. Not half its population. Not half its mass. The entire planet itself has shrunk. Its diameter has dropped from nearly 12,742 kilometers to just over 6,300 kilometers. No explosion, no warning, no impact. It simply became smaller. At first, most people wouldn't even believe it. How could an entire planet shrink? Buildings are still standing. The oceans still exist. The continents haven't disappeared. From the ground, everything looks strangely familiar. But within minutes, small details begin to reveal something is terribly wrong. The horizon looks closer. Mountains appear taller than they should. Airplanes suddenly reach destinations much faster. Satellites report completely impossible orbital data. GPS systems begin failing across the globe. Astronomers panic, because the moon is no longer where it should be. Meanwhile, gravity starts behaving differently. If Earth's size changed while its mass also decreased proportionally, gravity would become dramatically weaker. A person weighing 80 kilograms would suddenly feel closer to 40 kilograms. At first, people might actually enjoy it. Running becomes effortless. Jumping feels almost superhuman. Athletes begin breaking world records within hours. Children laugh as they leap twice as high. Social media fills with videos of impossible basketball dunks. People clearing rooftops. Dogs accidentally jumping over fences they never could before. For a brief moment, the entire world mistakes a planetary catastrophe for a miracle. But nature doesn't care about excitement. Because gravity isn't just what keeps your feet on the ground. It controls the atmosphere, the oceans, the moon, the Earth's core. And every second that passes, our planet begins losing its grip on everything around it. The atmosphere slowly starts expanding into space. The highest layers begin escaping Earth's weakened gravity. Satellites drift into unstable orbits. The International Space Station receives emergency warnings. Engineers realize they're witnessing something no human has ever imagined. Earth is slowly becoming unable to hold itself together. And this is only the first hour. The first hour felt almost exciting. People laughed, filmed impossible jumps, and celebrated the strange new world they had woken up in. But by the second hour, the excitement began to disappear. Because gravity wasn't the only thing that had changed. Earth itself had become a completely different planet. Scientists quickly discovered something terrifying. Earth's diameter had been cut in half. That meant the entire planet now had a much smaller volume. If Earth's density remained the same, its mass would also be dramatically lower. And weaker mass means weaker gravity. Suddenly, everything held down by gravity was beginning to escape. The atmosphere, the invisible blanket protecting every living thing, started expanding outward. The upper layers of air drifted farther and farther into space. At first, nobody could see it. The sky still looked blue. The air still felt normal. People kept driving to work, children stayed in school, restaurants remained open. But instruments told a completely different story. Weather balloons climbed higher than ever before. Commercial aircraft noticed thinner air at cruising altitude. Pilots reported engines producing less lift than expected. Fuel consumption increased. Some flights were forced to turn back. Others couldn't reach their planned altitude at all. Meteorologists around the world noticed something even stranger. Clouds behaved differently. Storm systems became unstable. Rain fell in unexpected places. Jet streams shifted hundreds of kilometers within hours. Weather forecasts became useless. Then, the oceans began to respond. Water had always been held tightly against Earth's surface by gravity. Now, that grip was weaker. The oceans didn't suddenly fly into space. But something far more unsettling happened. Tides became unpredictable. Coastlines started changing. Entire harbors experienced water levels they had never recorded before. Some beaches suddenly stretched hundreds of meters farther into the sea. Others disappeared beneath enormous tidal surges. Ports shut down. Cargo ships struggled to dock. Fishing fleets rushed back to shore. No one understood why the sea had become so unpredictable. Then, astronomers looked at the moon, and their blood ran cold. The moon was drifting, not quickly, not dramatically, but enough to confirm the impossible. Earth's weakened gravity could no longer hold the moon as securely as before. Every orbit became slightly larger. Every day, the moon moved a little farther away. The consequences would take weeks to unfold. But scientists already knew, this wasn't something that would stop on its own. Meanwhile, another silent disaster was unfolding beneath everyone's feet. Earth's core. For billions of years, our planet's molten iron core has acted like a giant spinning dynamo. It generates Earth's magnetic field, an invisible shield protecting life from deadly solar radiation. But shrinking the planet changed everything. The core was now much smaller. Its internal pressure had dropped. Its rotation began changing. Around the world, magnetic observatories detected enormous fluctuations. Navigation systems failed. Compasses pointed in strange directions. Migrating birds suddenly lost their routes. Whales became stranded on unfamiliar coastlines. Thousands of satellites experienced communication errors. GPS accuracy collapsed. Military systems entered emergency mode. Governments tried to reassure the public. There is no immediate danger. But behind closed doors, they knew the truth. The planet was becoming less stable every minute. Then, something happened that no simulation had predicted. Volcanoes. Earth's interior pressure had changed. Deep beneath the crust, magma chambers expanded differently than before. Some volcanoes that had been dormant for centuries began showing signs of activity. Others, that erupted constantly, went completely silent. The balance of Earth's geology had been broken. Earthquakes spread across fault lines that had remained quiet for generations. Cities shook. Bridges cracked. Power grids failed. Millions lost electricity. Yet, this was still only the beginning. Because the greatest danger wasn't below the ground, or above the atmosphere. It was the sun. Every second, our atmosphere continued leaking into space. Slowly, almost invisibly, Earth's protective shield was disappearing. And once enough of that shield was gone, the surface of the planet would be exposed to the full violence of space itself. "24 hours. That was all it took for humanity to realize this was no longer a strange scientific event. It was the beginning of the end. The atmosphere, the invisible shield surrounding our planet, continued slipping away into space. Not all at once. Not like a giant explosion. It escaped molecule by molecule, second after second, hour after hour. At sea level, people could still breathe. The air felt almost normal. But satellites revealed a horrifying truth. The atmosphere had already become noticeably thinner. Every sunrise, more of it disappeared. Every sunset, Earth became a little less alive. Scientists tried everything. Thousands of rockets launched emergency experiments. Space agencies deployed atmospheric probes. Supercomputers simulated millions of possibilities. Every calculation ended with the same conclusion. There was no way to stop the planet from bleeding its atmosphere into space. Then, the first invisible killer arrived. Radiation. Normally, Earth's magnetic field deflects billions of charged particles from the sun every second. Without that protection, those particles began reaching the upper atmosphere. At first, they created beautiful auroras. Green, purple, blue. For one incredible night, the entire planet glowed. People filled social media with breathtaking videos. Many believed it was the most beautiful event in human history. They had no idea they were celebrating the collapse of Earth's defenses. Within hours, the radiation levels began rising. Airline crews received dangerous doses during routine flights. Astronauts aboard orbital stations rushed into shielded compartments. Communication satellites started failing one after another. Television signals disappeared. GPS vanished. The internet slowed as satellites went offline. Entire continents lost communication. Then, the power grids began collapsing. Solar particles slammed into Earth's electrical systems. Massive transformers overheated. High-voltage networks failed. Cities that had never known darkness went completely black. Hospitals switched to emergency generators. Air traffic control screens went blank. Financial markets froze. Banking systems crashed. Emergency services became overwhelmed. But that still wasn't humanity's greatest problem. The sun continued shining exactly as it always had. Only now, its deadly ultraviolet radiation reached the surface more easily. People staying outdoors for only a short time began suffering severe burns. Farmers watched crops wither beneath sunlight that had suddenly become far more dangerous. Forests started dying. Freshwater lakes warmed rapidly. Coral reefs, already fragile, turned ghostly white. The oceans themselves began changing. Phytoplankton, tiny organisms almost invisible to the human eye, produce much of the oxygen we breathe. They were now being exposed to radiation levels they had never evolved to survive. Within days, their populations crashed. And with them, Earth's oxygen production began to fall. The food chain started breaking apart. Fish died by the millions. Whales struggled to find food. Seabirds disappeared from coastlines. Entire ecosystems unraveled with terrifying speed. Meanwhile, another crisis unfolded beneath every city. Air pressure kept dropping. At first, people barely noticed. Then breathing became harder. Mountain climbers had experienced thin air before. Now, the entire planet was slowly becoming a mountain. Children, the elderly, and anyone with respiratory illness were the first to collapse. Hospitals filled beyond capacity. Oxygen tanks became more valuable than gold. Governments rationed every remaining medical supply. Factories stopped producing luxury goods. Instead, they manufactured only one thing: oxygen. Every nation, every company, every laboratory had the same desperate goal: keep humanity breathing for one more day. But nature was moving faster than humans could adapt. Animals migrated in every direction. Millions of birds abandoned their ancient roots. Insects disappeared. Pollination nearly stopped. Harvests failed. Food shortages spread across the globe. Panic replaced order. Borders closed. Supply chains collapsed. The world economy simply ceased to function. Humanity was no longer fighting over wealth, or territory, or politics. There was only one battle left: survival. And while billions of people looked toward the sky, hoping for a miracle, astronomers discovered something even worse. Earth's orbit around the sun was beginning to change. Not dramatically, not yet, but enough to prove one terrifying reality. The shrinking planet was still changing. It had not reached its final state. And if that process continued, everything humanity had experienced so far would only be the beginning. Days passed, and Earth was no longer the planet humanity had always known. The air had become too thin. The oceans had begun to retreat. The moon continued drifting farther away, never to return. One by one, the world's greatest cities fell silent. No airplanes crossed the sky. No ships sailed the oceans. Only emergency broadcasts, repeating the same message: stay indoors, conserve oxygen, wait for instructions. Scientists had reached one final conclusion. There was no way to restore Earth's original size. No technology, no machine, no human invention, could reverse what had happened. Humanity had only one remaining option: leave. Space agencies from every nation united for the first time in history. Every rocket, every spacecraft, every available resource, was focused on building a future beyond Earth. But there was one impossible problem. More than 8 billion people lived on Earth. Only a tiny fraction could ever leave. The rest would have to stay behind. As the atmosphere continued fading into space, the blue sky slowly darkened. Even during the day, the heavens looked almost black. The stars became visible before sunset. It was beautiful and terrifying. Finally, the last transmission from Earth was broadcast across the solar system. If anyone hears this, remember us. Then, silence. A planet that had been home to life for billions of years became another lifeless world, drifting through space. All because Earth suddenly became half its size.